Well, tonight we're getting our first look at new video from a massive weekend raid near San Pedro and Bassi. It's
sharing about a massive ICE raid in San Antonio. They say Sunday last week they teamed up with the South Texas
4:52 a.m. San Antonio, Texas, Stone Oak, Bexar County. Breaking overnight, a joint federal task force has executed 27 warrants across Texas, including a state senator's downtown penthouse. By sunrise, agents would log $2.4 billion in bulk U.S. currency. They would weigh 500 kilograms of narcotics pulled from false walls. They would count 14 encrypted USB drives and 1 laptop sealed in Faraday bags. And they would place 19 people in federal custody without a single shot fired. Guns, cash, silence. The Stone Oak neighborhood was no longer calm, and what followed would expose how a drug pipeline can become a political weapon. If you want the full truth, hit like so this story reaches more people. What they found next would change the case from an immigration warrant into a national security corruption probe. Let me show you. On 6:18 p.m., San Antonio, Texas, Alamo Ranch, West Side. It began quietly, hours earlier, with Maria Rodriguez, 31, a kitchen timer beeping, 2 children at the table, steam rising from a pot. The doorbell rang once, then again. On the Ring camera, 12 figures in tactical helmets and plate carriers, rifles pointed down, hands already positioned to breach. "ICE, open the door now!" Maria's hands shook as she started a Facebook live stream. "Show the warrant!" she shouted through the intercom. In the background, her 7-year-old daughter Elena cried. Her 4-year-old son Diego disappeared behind the couch. The agents didn't argue. A battering ram struck. Hinges snapped. Boots flooded the entryway. And then, an odd, practiced move. One gloved hand reached up and covered the ring lens with black tape. The picture died. The audio kept rolling. A voice on the threshold said, "Secure the occupants. Sweep for hazards." Another voice, "Basement access. Confirm." No panic. No chaos. It was precision. 7:03 p.m. San Antonio, Texas. Same residence. At first, the paperwork looked routine. An ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations Administrative Warrant paired with a Homeland Security Investigations Criminal Search Addendum. 2 different authorities. 2 different missions. That matters because HSI is not a patrol unit. It is ICE's investigative arm, built for complex cases spanning narcotics, financial crime, smuggling, and transnational networks. ICE publicly describes HSI's work as targeting crimes from financial crime and narcotics smuggling to human smuggling and weapons trafficking. Source Maria kept repeating a single sentence, "This is not ours." Then an agent's radio crackled from below the home, thin with disbelief. "You're not gonna believe this." 7:11 p.m., San Antonio, Texas. Basement stairwell. Behind a framed drywall panel, painted to match, screwed in place, dusted like it had never been touched. Agents located a seam, a hidden latch, a false wall. They pulled it open and found the first cash. $12.3 million in shrink-wrapped bundles stacked inside black contractor bags, each bundle banded, labeled, and vacuum sealed. The numbers were staggering. Next to the cash, 96 kilograms of cocaine bricks, uniform in size, stamped with a crowned insignia. And then the fentanyl, gray-white powder compressed into blocks. 41 kilograms in the first pull. An HSIK-9 sat, rigid, a trained stillness, the alert that ends the argument. Maria screamed. Elena screamed louder. Diego vomited on the hallway rug. Agents moved with speed and purpose. They photographed. They weighed. They called in DEA, and they locked down the perimeter like the house itself had become an evidence vault. 7:26 p.m. San Antonio, Texas. Perimeter established within 15 minutes. The scene expanded. DEA tactical units arrived in marked SUVs. FBI agents arrived in unmarked black Suburbans. A U.S. Marshal Service transport van staged 2 blocks away. This was not a local drug bust. This was a federal containment operation. And still, it didn't explain the address. Property records, pulled in real time, tied the home's mortgage holder to a shell, LLC, Alamo Vista Holdings. No signage, no office, no employees, just a mailing address. FinCEN has warned that shell companies often have no physical presence beyond a mailing address and can be exploited to disguise ownership and purpose, making them attractive for money laundering. Source. But there was another name buried in the filing history, a name with power. Texas State Senator Gabriel Montes. 8:44 p.m. San Antonio, Texas. Federal briefing, San Antonio Field Office. By nightfall, the task force had a problem. The evidence in the basement suggested a high-volume stash house, but the paper trail suggested something cleaner, white-collar protection. The command board filled with red markers. Stone Oak, Southtown, the King William District, the Pearl area, downtown high-rise, and 2 logistics nodes, an I-10 warehouse corridor near Leon Valley, and a Loop 1604 storage complex on the north side. Agents traced shipments through Laredo and Eagle Pass, 2 crossing points that move legitimate commerce by the ton and contraband by the kilogram. A timeline emerged. 2019, the LLC first incorporated. 2022, the mortgage refinanced twice, equity extracted in cash. 2024, a spike in wire activity tied to consulting services. Early 2026, a sudden increase in encrypted communications and burner phones. The deeper agents dug, the clearer it became. Maria Rodriguez was not the architect. She was a door on a hallway that led somewhere higher. 1:12 a.m., San Antonio, Texas. Surveillance staging, downtown thermal imaging, watched the penthouse windows. Drone footage mapped rooftop access. A building engineer, working under federal order, provided mechanical room keys and elevator override protocols. The target was a luxury unit overlooking the River Walk, registered to a second entity, Montes Strategic Consulting, LLC. This was where the case became volatile. High-profile targets bring pressure, lawyers, cameras, accusations of political warfare. So the team doubled down on procedure. Warrants signed, entry plans reviewed, custody chains pre-labeled, evidence tags assigned per room. And then the call came down from federal leadership. The order came at 3:38 a.m. Execute all targets simultaneously. Type yes if you want to see all targets hit at once. 4:52 a.m. San Antonio, Texas. Downtown high-rise, penthouse level. Fog hung low along the streets, caught in the white glare of street lamps. Elevator access was cut. Stairwell doors were controlled. FBI SWAT stacked at the landing. DEA took the service corridor. ICEHSI held the inner perimeter. U.S. Marshals secured arrest teams at the lobby and garage gates. Above them, helicopter blades chopped the dark. Low, distant, not for spectacle, but for overwatch and containment. Breach, breach, breach. A hydraulic tool bit into the penthouse doorframe. The lock failed. The entry was clean. Inside, marble floors, staged art, a kitchen too spotless to be lived in, a closet lined with suits, a hidden room behind a mirrored panel. Resistance came in the form of silence. No armed guard, no barricade, no shootout. Just a single man near the hallway, hands raised, wearing a robe like he'd been waiting for the inevitable. Senator Gabriel Montes. He did not ask why. He asked who had authorized it, and he asked it twice. 5:09 a.m., San Antonio, Texas. Penthouse interior, a hidden structural void. Agents searched like accountants with rifles. Methodical, grid-based. A stud finder hit hollow space where solid support should have been. A drywall cut revealed a cavity engineered into the wall, framed, sealed, insulated. The first pull produced cash, not stacks, brick columns of $100 bundles, vacuum-packed and layered like construction material. Then more wall space, another cavity, another. By 6:17 a.m., the running total crossed 1.1 billion. By 7:40 a.m., it reached 2.4 billion in bulk currency, packaged for transport, each bundle tagged with coded markings. The numbers weren't just large, they were logistical. This wasn't spending money, it was operating capital. 6:02 a.m., San Antonio, a Texas secondary cash room. Behind the Penthouse's wine display, bottles arranged for show, agents discovered a concealed safe set into reinforced concrete. The safe was opened under camera, gloves changed, serial numbers photographed, chain of custody forms signed in ink. Inside, 14 USB drives, each wrapped in anti-static sleeves, 1 laptop with tamper seals, 3 burner phones, and 2 passports, 1 Mexican, 1 Panamanian, both with the same face but different names. No note, no phone, no trace. But the devices were the real payload, because drugs and cash can be explained away with lawyers and denials. Data is harder to bury. Comment, warrant, if you believe the paperwork matters as much as the weapons. 7:28 M. San Antonio, Texas. Evidence lab intake. FBI forensic techs logged the devices. DEA analysts logged the narcotics. WHS. Financial investigators began mapping accounts. I reviewed suspicious transaction patterns, and the work turned cold. Encrypted drives don't confess. They resist. They delay. They buy time. But time was not on Senator Montos's side, because the task force had already seized ledgers from the Stone Oak home, coded entries, dates, amounts, and initials that did not match Maria Rodriguez, her children, or anyone in her phone contacts. The entries matched something else: payment scheduling, political calendars. And when the first USB finally decrypted, the screen filled with spreadsheets, columns labeled with abbreviations that investigators recognized immediately. Shell entities, wire routes, consulting invoices, cash drops, and what appeared to be pay-to-play schedules. 10:16 a.m. Austin, Texas. State Oversight Corridor. Every trail pointed to the same structure. Money moved through domestic shell companies, then through offshore centers, then back into legitimate contracts. FinCEN has warned that shell company opacity can be exploited to disguise ownership and move money globally through wires and layered entities. Source investigators flagged nodes in Panama City and the Cayman Islands. And then the cartel references surfaced, names that don't need explaining in the Southwest. CJNG, the Sinaloa Cartel, and the Gulf Cartel. The DEA has publicly described CJNG as a key supplier of illicit fentanyl to the United States, and the Sinaloa Cartel as one of the largest producers and traffickers of fentanyl and other illicit drugs, with multi-kilogram smuggling into the US and worldwide. To source what they uncovered was not petty corruption, it was a convergence, trafficking logistics fused to political access. 11:33 a.m. San Antonio, Texas. Victim impact files. In the task force briefing room, the human cost was not an afterthought. It was the reason the case existed. Case files referenced overdose clusters, missing person reports, and trafficking indicators. Teen runaways, coerced labor, and families who never got answers. ICE has noted that America faces a public health emergency, with drug overdoses claiming more than 1 million lives since 1999, and that accidental opioid overdose is the leading cause of death for Americans ages 18 to 45. Source: those aren't abstract numbers. They are empty seats at dinner tables. They are birthdays that don't happen. And now, their agents were staring at documents suggesting the profits didn't just buy cars and guns. They bought influence. Share this video so communities understand what was hiding. 12:58 p.m. Houston, Texas. Parallel arrests. Simultaneous arrests unfolded across 6 sites. A Southtown office suite. A warehouse near I-10. A Loop 1604 storage facility. A suburban home in Sugar Land. A trucking yard outside El Paso, and a short-term rental near the Pearl in San Antonio. Agents seized 23 firearms total, including 7 handguns with filed serial numbers, 2 short-barreled rifles, and 1 suppressed weapon stored inside a false HVAC return. They recovered an additional 363 kilograms of narcotics, bringing the total to 500 kilograms seized across the operation. and they arrested 19 individuals, including 2 accountants, 1 campaign consultant, and 3 logistics coordinators, and Senator Gabriel Montes himself. The shock spread faster than news alerts. Phones lit up across Texas. Lawyers raced to courthouses. Political staffers issued denials before they understood the allegations. 2:21 p.m. San Antonio, Texas. Federal courthouse steps. The first public statements were careful, because federal cases don't live on certainty. They live on proof. Prosecutors described an ongoing investigation into narcotics trafficking, money laundering, and public corruption. They did not claim an election outcome was changed. They did not announce conclusions beyond the evidence seized. They spoke in the language of procedure: warrants, custody chains, verified transactions, authenticated communications. But the existence of the spreadsheets and the alleged payment schedules hit the public like a pressure wave. Because trust inside institutions weakened not in one dramatic collapse, but in small fractures. Each revelation becomes a test. Who knew? Who looked away? Who benefited? If this shocked you, comment "Trust" below. 5:44 p.m. San Antonio, Texas, back to Alamo Ranch. Maria Rodriguez was released pending further investigation, her children placed temporarily with family. Her home, once just a kitchen and a hallway and a bedtime routine, was now a crime scene on the internet. Millions watched the ring clip, arguing over seconds of audio. Some saw government overreach. Some saw a family used as a shield by professional criminals. But the evidence ledger didn't care about debate, because what was hidden behind ordinary drywall wasn't only cash and poison, it was infrastructure. Behind the ordinary thing, something darker was evolving. A system where cartel money could allegedly purchase insulation, anonymity, and access. 8:03 p.m. Washington, D.C., closed-door federal briefing. In secure rooms, investigators mapped the network like an organizational chart. Shell companies at the base, logistics in the middle, political influence at the top. Mexico appeared in travel records. Panama appeared in bank routing. The Cayman Islands appeared in holding structures. And on one decrypted drive, the allegation that froze the room. Communications that, according to investigators, discussed funding consulting operations tied to election administration outreach in 2024 and targeted influence efforts heading into 2026. That is not a partisan claim. It is a public corruption question. And it is why cases like this are handled with restraint. Because democracy is not just a vote. It is the confidence that the vote is real. 9:17 p.m. San Antonio, Texas. Final reflection. This story is not about spectacle, not about tactical gear, not about a single senator in a robe at dawn. It is about the line between law and crime being erased, slowly, deliberately, until a family home becomes a warehouse, and a penthouse becomes a vault, and public office becomes a commodity. Corruption is betrayal with paperwork. Trafficking is murder with logistics. And money laundering is the act of making evil look respectable. Communities survive on trust. Trust that the laws protect. Trust that institutions serve. Trust that elections reflect citizens, not hidden benefactors. When that trust breaks, the damage spreads beyond one neighborhood, beyond San Antonio, beyond Texas. It reaches the core of security and democracy. Now the 3-part question is yours. Hit like if you believe the public deserves transparency when power is accused. Comment your thoughts. Do you think Maria Rodriguez was a pawn, a participant, or collateral damage? And subscribe for continued coverage, because the warrants are executed, but the consequences are not finished. This is only the beginning.